Mm. Somewhere over there. Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, Harry here, back with another Bricklaying vlog. This is Friday's footage. I know you guys have seen this on a Saturday, but I tried to do a voiceover last night and not very quality, you know. So yeah, finishing off another peak today. This is a fresh peak we did, because another gang took the one adjacent to the house we were topping out to take the one next to it. So a little bit of jumping backwards and forwards yesterday, but on this footage on the Friday we were just flat started on this fresh house and building this. As you can see, it's got a movement joint right in the centre, so that does pose a lot of issues for, you know, for the build if you attempt it in the wrong way. I don't recommend stop ending a movement joint unless you're on proper bricks. So if you're on a proper, dry brick, or a brick that isn't wet, you can stop end movement joints. I still probably wouldn't recommend it when you're running in a gable. It'd break up the build too much, and although you could get like a stop end profile on one side, you'd probably have to set like an intermediate profile up at the far end of the other side, to run in to that movement joint, and that'd cause a bit of issue because it's a bit of a fiddle to set up. I've seen people put profiles up the gable ladders and stuff and moving dory blocks and stuff like that. I think it's a lot more extra hassle considering you've already got a profile there, meaning the fascia and soffit. So I still do this the same method. One brick fits brick, go. Pulling the tension off the wood of the gable ladder, not the brick. Stop the brick twisting and cockling out of line with the fascia and soffit. Also, when I was doing this, I was setting one brick up, setting my one brick up, fits bricking at one end, and then while the line's sort of, it's obviously running down to the other brick that needs tingling up, I'd set my movement joint as I went past, so I'd just quickly plop two bricks on, or two halves, and just make sure it was sitting a little bit off the line, nice 10mm joint on them. And then I'd make sure obviously they wouldn't interfere with the line, so then I'd run from that same end that I'd moved the brick up, run all the way to the to the movement joint, and then just tap them bricks into touch. And it's a little bit more efficient. You're not going backwards and forwards. You know, you're not stopping when you get to the centre and then cutting your bricks. Have all your halves pre-cut. Obviously, these are just snappers because it's on a cut up, so it's just easy to crack the you know, crack the brick with a brick hammer and away you go. Also, I plumb the movement joint every 2 or 3 course. I just eye it in. I just stand back, use your eye a lot of the time. It is one of them things. If you use your eye, you know, it is a confidence thing. A lot of guys don't sort of seem to think what they're doing a lot of the time or think through what they're doing. But if you'll just look at something and use your eye, get more confident, plumbing things up with your eye and just seeing level and seeing plumb. You don't have to rely so much on your level all the time. But still use the same method that I think you've seen a few guys on YouTube do, where you just slide a slip tie in or slide a tie wire in at the bottom of the movement joint. It just gives you your level, something to rest against when you're plumbing one side of your movement joint up. I always follow the right side for some reason. I just find that, you know, it's easier, just because I hold my trowel in my right hand and my level. My trowel in my left hand and my level in the right. Obviously, because my right hand's my brick hand. That's why I tend to plumb the right side of a movement joint all the time. So yeah, today's footage you've seen with running this in was a flat start. So I always get to site around 8:30. It's just a time I've found more repeatable for me to arrive to site. I know guys like to get there at 7:30. I know it's a common thing, but I found in winter you're not really doing any. You're not really going to be doing anything till 8. You can't really normally, forklifts don't really start on most sites now till 8. Just because a lot of sites, especially on housing, they're selling houses as they're building them. So they'll have a section of the site sort of already built and sold, and people start moving into that phase, or whatever section they've decided to start the site at. And then, the majority of the site that's, carrying on building could be 3 years, 4 years work, where machines can't start well 8, especially when there's residents living there. So that's why I think a lot of the time, it makes a lot of sense to get there at least maybe 8 o'clock, or no earlier than like 7:45 start a lot of the time. In winter, the temperature dictates these start times anyway, so 8:30. I don't think I'm losing much by getting there at that time. It's repeatable for me. So we've been trying, working through. We had a snap. We bring his food onto the scaffold, like we just get a meal deal from Tesco or something. We'll bring it onto the scaffold, and I just sort of have 15 minutes when I feel like I need something to eat, and then carry on working. It's not really what I like to do. I like to step away from the work and just have half an hour in the car or an hour in the car. But we were just doing it in winter to just, get done a bit quicker. Like today, I wasn't planning on building this right to the top, but I ended up finishing it. I did 21 course. I normally go around, my sweet spot is 21 course in sort of anything. I do all my houses to 21 course. I know some guys take it 22, but I find the speed decrease in laying at that height isn't worth doing. So, 21, an average slab height where it's stoned up, 2 or 3 course around. 21's very comfortable. Maybe 22 at a push. I don't know standard, I've heard people standard lift heights and stuff for houses. I don't follow anything. I just go to, like an old bricklayer taught me years ago, just go to what is comfortable, because, you're going to lose more time reaching than you could just lay it quicker on the lift above. So, but yeah, so when it comes to top out, it's about 21, 22. I found that's universally easily high enough, and then it leaves you a couple hundred bricks in your peak, and then that's easily doable. I didn't manage to use the new spring clips, spring clamps. I've got the 50mm ones to accommodate for the batten, because a batten thickness laid flat is about I'd say 25-30mm, I think. A batten laid flat plus there's fascia and soffit, which 40mm. So I got a 50mm clamp. I didn't end up using it. I've got so used to doing the Fitz brick. I'm gonna put some oil on these Fitz bricks because I've been working with them like unoiled, squeaky, cranky, for ages, and they still work well. But I'm gonna put some oil on to just make ease of use, and then that should make them, easy to use. I'll also mention you can see I'm racking back where the fascia and soffit goes. I don't fill in my cuts as I go. I found it a lot faster. Just racking back, with you're leaving sort of a half a brick gap all the way up the gable if your roof runs at the right angle. Some roofs will run, not at 45. They'll run at different, pitches, and then you'll have a bigger gap as you go. But sometimes if I can squeeze an extra brick in, like when I'm bedding one brick on freehand, with a nice 10mm joint, and fits brick in it. Sometimes I'll just bed two on, to fill in the gap a little bit more. But then when I go to finish, it literally takes me 10 minutes to fill each side in once it was finished, and I find it just takes away a lot of the messing about, which makes cut-ups awkward. While Mel's pointing up or tidying up or whatever, I'll just fill in each end, and it works out pretty well. Obviously, the timber ties on these, they want them every 150. I got given a detail for these roofs on the last site about a month or two ago now, and I've just been working to that ever since. I know some guys have their own ways of doing these, but I've got a drawing, it's proof, and I always try to go to whatever drawing I get given, regardless of what any other bricklayer's doing. Just try to go to the drawing, always, because you've got something to go by. But yeah, these would be easier if you didn't have to put as many ties in, but we do, and I think a lot of timber framed with the ring shank timber ties that you just nail in. I think they're a lot better. These are the technical knocking ties that you have to knock in with a special knocker. They're a bit more awkward, but still been able to get about 580 bricks down on this cut. So yeah, from a flat start, like this morning, there was no gear on it, so Mel was making sixes. Well, Mel set all the boards up. That's her favourite job, setting the mortar boards up. But it's not always good to do because you can't always. You're sometimes trying to get past the boards sometimes. So she set the boards up and I filled in the stacks in between the boards. We tried to sort of knock all this loading out on a night, so we sort of loaded out in front for the next day. It don't always work, but it only took us about half an hour to get set up, and I was laying by about 9:30. So yeah, that's half an hour because she fills the boards as I'm loading the bricks, so it does work quite well. I'm just gonna actually look into maybe making slightly smaller spot boards. I know a lot of guys go by the size of the gator boards, but I find them a little bit too big for a lot of situations, especially like top outs. You don't need as much mortar on the boards. Like those gator boards, you can put like two big yellow buckets full of mortar on, and they'll fill up nice. But a smaller spot board, especially when you're doing pick and dip, when you're not really rolling the mortar like you would with a traditional big trowel, you don't need all that real estate space on your board to sort of move the mortar around. You just pick it up and drop it. The plop and drop. I've heard a few guys call it that, speedboating. They have all sorts of names for the for pick and dip, and I've normally followed by the quote, "Oh, I've been doing bricklaying too long to do that," or I can't be doing that. I get that comment constantly by a lot of guys who come up to me or see me do it on site. Oh God, you're not filling your perps. That be a nightmare to joint. Well, I tell you, it's not. I do a lot of the jointing, especially when the bricks are wet, because we can't leave these overnight because it isn't ready. Makes it go solid in the morning, which is a plus because you can just carry on laying on top of your work without any risk of it, moving. But I do a lot of the jointing now at the end of the day because I can make a little bit of a neater job of the pointing. Mel does all the perps given, and then I do all the beds. I've got to actually get a new jointer because it requires. This is another little tip for anyone jointing wet bricks. This is wet bricks as well as these concretes, but you need a nice smooth jointer. You need the nice smooth like new metal on the jointer. If it's starting to rust a little bit, it's going to make a crap finish. You need it shined up all the time. So I think I'm going to have to get another barrel jointer, because I've left a few of mine to rust a little bit because of not cleaning them off very good. Which on normal mortar it don't matter, because it'll, especially when you're putting block work and stuff, it'll smooth itself out. But on bricks you need a really smooth, clean jointer to joint wet joints, and it'll just make a nicer finish when you're finished. Horsehair brush as well. I was looking at the other gang we're using, he was showing me I use a horsehair brush already, but I didn't realise that was the name for my particular brush. But it's the same material I use. I use a very soft horsehair brush. I know the price of them have gone through the roof recently. I've seen them up for upwards of like £30 for a brush. But he insisted he got his for a tenner, so I'm going to have a look and get him one pretty soon. So anyway guys, that's the end of the voiceover part of the video. Hope you guys got a few little tips from this video and enjoyed the content so far. As you can hear, I'm full of cold again, so hopefully that won't last as long as the last one. So anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next week with another one. We got it up, it's fucking 4:15 and it's getting dark, so we're going home. So, right, I'll see you in the next one. So that finishes out Friday. Fucking a bit late for Friday. We didn't get off the scaffold till 4:15. How sad. But yeah, we're having a Mackies and the whole squad's here. Say hello, Arch. So, alright guys, thanks all for watching. Hope you've had a good week. I know it hasn't been a good week. It hasn't been a good week, but it's hopefully we'll soon the red man's coming anyway.
Man in the red suit?
I'll see you in the next one.